Let's begin with something so familiar that you've probably never questioned it. You stand in front of a mirror, you raise your right hand, and the reflection raises what looks like its left hand. Instantly your brain whispers, aha, mirrors reverse left and right. But here's the fun part. That idea is wrong, completely wrong. The mirror is innocent. It's not flipping left and right at all. It's doing something far stranger and far more interesting. Imagine you're not a human for a moment. Imagine you're a tiny camera floating in space. You face a mirror. What does the mirror do? It takes light that comes toward it and sends it straight back. That's it. No magic. No trick. Light goes in, light comes out, like a perfect bounce. The mirror does not know what left means. It does not care about right. It has no opinion about your hands. All it does is reverse one direction, front and back. What was moving toward the mirror now moves away from it. That's the only flip that actually happens. So why does it feel like left and right get swapped? That's where the human brain enters the stage wearing a magician's cape. When you look at your reflection, you don't treat it as a flat image. Your brain secretly imagines another you standing inside the mirror. And to compare yourself with that imaginary person, your mind performs a mental rotation. You turn that imaginary body around to face the same direction as you. And when you rotate a body, guess what happens? Left and right swap places. The mirror didn't do it. You did it, inside your head. Try this experiment in your mind. Write the letter R on a piece of paper and hold it up to the mirror. It looks backward. Now rotate the paper 180 degrees in real life. Suddenly, the mirror image looks correct again. Nothing changed about the mirror, only the orientation changed. That's the clue. The reversal is not a property of glass, it's a property of rotation. And here's where it gets even more delightful. Up and down don't get reversed in a mirror. Why not? Why doesn't your head appear where your feet should be? Because we don't usually imagine flipping ourselves upside down to face the mirror. We imagine turning around sideways, like spinning on a chair. Our brain chooses the most natural rotation based on how humans move. That choice creates the illusion of left-right reversal. This tells you something beautiful about the mind. You are not passively receiving reality. You are actively constructing it. Your brain is constantly guessing, adjusting, interpreting. The mirror simply provides raw information, bouncing photons. Your mind turns that information into meaning. So the next time you stand in front of a mirror, don't think of it as a trick object that lies to you. Think of it as a silent teacher. It's showing you how perception works. It's reminding you that what feels obvious is often wrong, and what seems simple can hide a deep idea underneath. And once you realize that the mirror isn't reversing you, that your own thinking is doing the flipping, you start to see something bigger. The real mystery is not the mirror. The real mystery is the mind looking into it. Now let's push this a little deeper, because once you accept that the mirror is not the magician, you begin to notice who really is. It's your brain. And your brain is not a passive camera quietly recording the world. It is more like a noisy control room filled with predictions, shortcuts, and clever tricks that keep you alive and moving without thinking too hard. When light from the mirror enters your eyes, nothing inside your head looks like a face, a hand, or a body. There are no tiny pictures floating around in your brain. There are only electrical signals, little bursts of activity jumping between neurons. And somehow, from this chaos of signals, your brain constructs a stable image of you. That construction is not automatic truth. It's an interpretation. Your brain carries a map of your body. It knows where your hands are without looking. It knows which side is left and which is right, because you've been practicing that distinction since childhood. Every time you tie your shoes, reach for a cup, or wave at someone, you reinforce this internal model. So when you see your reflection, your brain doesn't treat it as a stranger. It treats it as a version of yourself and tries to match it to the internal map it already has. Here's the clever part. Your brain assumes faces are supposed to be upright, symmetrical, and familiar. That's why you recognize your reflection instantly. But directions like left and right are learned labels, not physical properties. There is nothing in nature that says, this side is left. That idea lives inside your mind. So when the mirror image doesn't perfectly match your internal body map, the brain makes the closest possible interpretation. It says, this must be me, just reversed sideways. It chooses the explanation that feels simplest, not the one that is most physically accurate. This is why illusions work. Not because your eyes are bad, but because your brain is efficient. It uses shortcuts, it fills in gaps, it guesses what should be there before all the information arrives. And most of the time, those guesses are good enough to keep you from walking into walls and falling down stairs. But when you meet something unusual, like a mirror reflection, those shortcuts become visible. Think about this. You don't see the world in real time. There is a small delay while your brain processes signals, yet you feel like everything is happening instantly. That sense of now is manufactured. The same thing happens with your reflection. The feeling of left-right reversal is not something the mirror creates. It is something your brain adds afterward, like a caption on an image. Once you realize this, the mirror becomes a laboratory. You are standing in front of an experiment that runs every time you look at yourself. It's an experiment about perception, identity, and how easily the mind fills in stories to make reality feel comfortable. And here's the truly exciting part. If your brain can quietly rewrite something as simple as direction, what else is it rewriting without you noticing? How many things do you know that are not facts, but interpretations? The mirror is not just reflecting your face, it's reflecting the incredible power and the quiet trickery of the mind itself. Now let's step away from the brain for a moment and look at the stage on which all this drama happens. Space itself. We usually think of space as empty, silent, boring, but space has structure. It has directions, it has rules, and mirrors have a wonderful way of exposing those hidden rules. Imagine you are floating in outer space, far away from Earth, with no up, no down, no floor, no ceiling. You are holding a mirror. Which way is up now? Which way is left? Suddenly those directions lose their meaning. They only make sense because of your body and gravity and habit. What doesn't disappear, however, is front and back. You are facing the mirror. That facing direction is real and physical. It is defined by the way light travels from you to the mirror and back again. A flat mirror performs a very specific operation. It does not twist the world. It does not rotate anything. It simply reverses one axis, depth. Points that were in front of the mirror appear behind it. That's it. One clean mathematical flip. If you could draw invisible lines in space, one for left-right, one for up-down, and one for forward-backward, the mirror touches only the forward-backward line. But humans are strange creatures. We don't experience the world as axes and coordinates. We experience it as bodies moving through space. We stand facing forward. Our eyes point ahead. Our hands reach outward. So when the mirror reverses depth, it creates something that feels unnatural. A person in the mirror seems to be standing inside the wall. That doesn't make sense to the brain. So the brain tries to fix it by mentally rotating the person around, turning them to face outward. And when you rotate something in three-dimensional space, left and right switch places. Again, not because the mirror did it, but because rotation demands it. This is a wonderful lesson in geometry hiding in your bathroom. You don't need a chalkboard. You don't need equations. Just stand in front of a mirror and point straight at it. Your reflection points straight back at you. That's the depth flip. Now point to your left. The reflection points to its right. That happens because you and the reflection are facing opposite directions. It's like two people standing face to face. If you raise your right hand, the other person raises the hand closest to you, which is their left. No mirror required. So the mirror is not performing a strange trick. It's showing you how orientation works in three-dimensional space. It's revealing that some directions are defined by physics, while others are defined by perspective. And here's where it becomes fascinating. The universe itself does not come labeled with arrows that say left or right. Those are human inventions. But the idea of facing, of direction of motion, of incoming and outgoing light, that is built into the fabric of reality. Mirrors interact with that fundamental structure. So when you look at your reflection, you are not just seeing yourself. You are witnessing a demonstration of spatial geometry happening in real time. You are watching light bounce, directions invert, and your own perspective step in to interpret the result. Suddenly the mirror is no longer a simple object hanging on the wall. It becomes a window into how space behaves. And once you understand that, you realize something powerful. The universe is constantly teaching you physics. You just have to learn how to look. Now let's talk about something you've definitely experienced, even if you never stop to think about it. You stand in front of a mirror, and your face looks normal, familiar, comfortable, but hold up a book, a phone screen, or a sign with letters on it, and suddenly everything looks wrong. The words are backward, unreadable, twisted like some strange alien language. Why does your face feel fine but text does not? That little difference reveals a lot about how your mind has been trained by the world. Your face is almost symmetrical. Your eyes are placed in similar positions. Your nose sits near the center. Your mouth stretches evenly across. Because of this symmetry, your brain doesn't rely heavily on left-right information to recognize a face. It looks for patterns. 2 eyes, 1 nose, 1 mouth, familiar proportions. So when the mirror flips depth and your brain does its usual mental gymnastics, your face still fits the pattern. It still looks like you. Nothing feels broken. But text is different. Letters are not symmetrical. A B is not a D. A P is not a Q. Direction is everything. Reading is one of the most trained skills your brain has. You've spent thousands of hours learning that meaning flows in a specific direction across the page. Your brain has built a strong habit, left to right, letter by letter, word by word. When the mirror disrupts that directional pattern, your brain immediately notices. It sounds an alarm. Something is wrong here. This tells you something important. Your perception is not just biology, it is culture and learning layered on top of biology. A person who grows up reading a different script, in a different direction, experiences mirrors slightly differently. The confusion is not universal in the same way. It is shaped by training. Now think about what this means. Your brain treats faces as natural objects, but treats text as artificial structures that must follow strict rules. When those rules break, the illusion becomes obvious. The mirror exposes the difference between what your brain considers natural and what it considers learned. Here's another fun twist. You rarely see your own face directly. You know it mostly through mirrors and photographs. And yet, when you see a flipped version of your face, like in a selfie camera that shows the non-mirrored image, it often looks strange to you, even though that's what everyone else sees. Why? Because your brain has become used to the mirrored version. It has adopted that reflection as your normal face. Reality feels wrong simply because it is unfamiliar. That's a powerful lesson. Familiar does not mean true. Comfortable does not mean correct. Your mind builds a sense of normality based on repetition, not accuracy. So the backward text in the mirror is not just a funny visual glitch. It's a signal. It's showing you how deeply training shapes perception. It's reminding you that your brain is not designed to show you the world as it is. It is designed to show you the world in a way that is useful. And once you see that, you begin to understand something bigger. The mirror is not just reflecting light. It is reflecting your habits, your learning, your expectations. It is showing you that what you call reality is partly physics and partly the story your brain has learned to tell itself. Now we arrive at a moment where a simple piece of glass begins to feel much bigger than it looks. Because once you understand that mirrors don't reverse left and right, that your brain is doing half the work, and that space itself has hidden structure, you start to see a surprising truth. You are not experiencing reality directly. You are experiencing a version of reality that your mind has carefully constructed for you. Your eyes do not deliver pictures to your brain. They deliver signals, tiny electrical pulses that carry information about light intensity and color. That's all. From those signals, your brain builds a three-dimensional world with depth, shape, motion, and meaning. It adds continuity so the world doesn't flicker. It adds stability so objects don't jump around every time your eyes move. It adds interpretation so you recognize faces, danger, and familiar places. What you see is not a recording, it's a model. The mirror exposes this beautifully. Physically, the mirror is doing something very simple, bouncing light. Psychologically, something much more complex happens. Your brain takes that reflected light and immediately asks questions. Is this a person? Is it me? Where is it standing? How is it oriented? Then, in a fraction of a second, it produces an answer that feels solid and obvious. You don't feel the calculation, you only feel the result. This is why the illusion of reversal feels so convincing. Your brain presents it as fact, not as a guess. And most of the time, that's useful. If you constantly questioned every perception, you'd never get out of bed. You'd be stuck analyzing the color of the floor instead of walking and it. So the brain trades perfect accuracy for speed and efficiency. But the mirror breaks that comfort. It creates a situation where your brain's shortcuts become visible. You catch your mind in the act of interpreting. And once you notice that, it becomes impossible to ignore in other areas of life. Think about distance. A mountain looks small far away, but you know it's huge. Your brain corrects the image automatically. Think about color. The same object looks different under sunlight and indoor light, yet your brain keeps the color stable. Think about motion. Movies are just still images flashed quickly, but your brain creates smooth movement. Reality, as you experience it, is full of these quiet edits. So the mirror is not just teaching you about reflection, it is teaching you about consciousness. It is showing you that what feels like direct experience is actually a carefully edited production. And here's the exciting part. Once you understand this, you gain a new kind of freedom. You become less trapped by appearances. You become more curious. You start asking better questions. Instead of saying, "This is how things are," you begin saying, "This is how my mind is showing things to me." That shift is powerful. It turns everyday life into a laboratory. Every reflection, every shadow, every illusion becomes an experiment.
So the next time you look into a mirror, don't just check your hair. Pause for a second. Realize that you are watching your brain create reality in real time.
And when you see that, the world becomes more mysterious, more interesting, and strangely more beautiful, not because it changed, but because you finally noticed how it is being built inside. Now we come to the final turn of the idea, the part that doesn't stay in the mirror, but follows you back into the world. If something as ordinary as a mirror can quietly fool millions of people every single day, then the real question is not about glass and light anymore. The real question is about you. What else are you accepting as obvious, natural, and true that might only be a clever illusion? You walk through life carrying assumptions like invisible luggage. You assume your limits are fixed. You assume your fears are permanent. You assume the way you see the world is the way the world actually is. But the mirror has already shown you something dangerous to ignorance and powerful to curiosity. Your mind edits reality. Once you truly understand that, you can't unsee it. You start noticing how often perception shapes behavior. A challenge appears and your brain labels it too hard. A failure happens and your mind labels it, "I am not good enough." A new opportunity shows up and your brain whispers, "That's not for people like you." None of these are physical facts. They are interpretations. They are reflections created by your own mental mirror. Think about fear. Fear often feels ID and real, like a wall in front of you. But many fears are not walls. They are shadows. They grow larger when you stare at them and shrink when you step forward. Just like the mirror's reversal, the feeling is convincing, but the cause is internal. And here's the fascinating part. Once you start questioning these mental reflections, they begin to lose power. You don't have to destroy them. You just have to see them clearly. Awareness alone changes the system. This is exactly how science advances. Someone looks at something everyone accepts and asks, "Is that actually true?" Someone questions the obvious. Someone notices the illusion. And suddenly the world changes, not because reality changed, but because understanding did. You can apply the same principle to your own life. When you feel stuck, ask whether you're facing a real obstacle or a mental interpretation. When you feel small, ask whether that size is measured by facts or by habit. When you feel limited, ask whether the limit belongs to the universe or to your thinking. The mirror becomes a symbol here. It reminds you that what you see is not always what is. It teaches you to pause, to reflect, to examine, instead of automatically accepting. And if you take this lesson seriously, something powerful happens. You stop being just a passenger inside your own mind. You become an explorer. You become someone who looks deeper, questions more, and settles for fewer illusions. So the next time you see your reflection, remember this. It is not only showing you your face, it is quietly asking you a question. How much of your life is shaped by reality? And how much is shaped by the stories your mind tells you? And once you begin to search for that answer, you don't just understand mirrors better, you understand yourself better. And that is where real transformation begins.